In California, with the rollout of Obamacare, we had a little snag in the system. Covered California is the government arm of Obamacare in California, and what happened was we have Covered California giving out people's personal and private information. So I'll put that in I'll explain to you exactly what happened. This nice gentleman here in the front decides he's going to sign up for healthcare. He gets on the website and he starts filling out the information, much like you do even if you're purchasing something online, right? You fill out your billing information, your address, what you want. Okay, so this young man, I know it came right out so naturally, this young man, he's signing up for healthcare, and at some point during the process, he decides, I'm not ready to do this yet. I can't quite make up my mind. I'm going to come back to it later. And so he walks away from the process. Well, what Covered California did was they said, hey, listen, this guy, he wants healthcare, and we need to help him make that decision. So we're going to give his email address, his phone number, his address, his name, all of those personal items of information about him. We're going to give it to insurance companies, and they're going to call him, and they're going to finish the deal, even though he didn't give anybody his permission to give out his information. So that's not the role of government, right? So for me as a Republican in California, in the super minority, mind you, I looked at that and said, you know what, this is not a partisan issue. This is a privacy issue. I don't care what party you are in, you do have a right to privacy. And everyone covets their privacy, right? So we've made this a bipartisan issue, that everyone should have their personal information protected. If I say, it's okay that you give my information to others, that's fine, but there should be something in place where you can make that decision. And they took that away from us. That's probably the biggest battle I'm going to have this year, to be honest with you, in a legislature that is chock full of Democrats who don't see privacy as an issue, because in their view, their job is to protect you from yourself. That's just how they see it. I don't know what it's like in some of the other states, and the women, just wonderful, powerful women who are going to follow me in speaking today, all from different states, all have a different story to share, and the dynamics in their states are much different than in California. But please pay attention to this particular problem, because it might be your state next. Because Obamacare, it's a national rollout, right? It could be you next. And I don't like when I hear Republicans kind of constantly touting conspiracy theories and things like that, but this is not a conspiracy theory. This is something that's actually happening, and you need to protect each other, your neighboring states as well. I am going to close with, I had a speech all written here, but I didn't even read it, as is usually the case. I just will close with one final point that I know you've heard before, but for me, having seen it firsthand in the legislature at the city council level and in the state assembly, the biggest problem I think we Republicans have is we have a lot of different factions within our party. And so I see it. We have, within our caucus, we have moderate Republicans, we have very strong right-wing Republicans, we have different variations, and inevitably, this group says, well, that group over there, you're not Republican enough. And this group says, well, you guys are you're too much, you're too over the top. And they don't come together. In the meantime, the Democrats are sitting back and watching and mobilizing, and believe me, they have their own issues as well within their parties. But they mobilize and they sit back, and if there's one thing I learned when I was in the Navy, I was a Russian intelligence translator and interrogator during the Cold War. There's one thing I learned is that your enemies will, at every single opportunity, exploit your weaknesses. And the factions within the Republican Party, that's our weakness. And they exploit it every time. I'm sure you see it. So my advice has always been, and my plea to my colleagues has always been, if you want to have your disagreements, let's have them. But close the door, go out behind the woodshed, whatever it is you need to do, work it out and come back out united, because that's where we're strong, right? House divided cannot stand. We all know that. So let's come together. Let's not apply the litmus test for Republicans every time we get together, and let's start defeating some of these Democrats. We have seats we can win, seats that haven't been in play for a very long time, and we can win them, but we have to come together to do it. That's all I have. Thank you.